Hello and welcome everybody to another exciting episode of World of Sumo presents Inside the Dohyo. Today I'm joined with my co-host John Trail, President of Australian Sumo, the Oceania Sumo Union and Vice President of the International Sumo Federation. And today John has brought in an exciting guest to join us and talk to us today about all things sumo in and out the world, because this is a man with much experience in that world. So John, please introduce our guest and tell everybody who we've got today with us, mate.
Well, yeah, I'm very pleased tonight to introduce Minaminoshima, who's one of my good friends, and one of the my main sources of information about what really happens in Ozumo, in pro sumo. So Minaminoshima was a Rikishi from March 2001 to September 2008. He reached his highest rank was the top part of Makushita. He won one of the divisions along the way. He's also been Australia and Oceania heavyweight champion, and he won a bronze medal at the Junior World Championships. And I think he's enjoying the good life in Sydney here. He's a little bit bigger than when he was in Ozumo. He's about 185 centimeters or 6'1", and it was nearly 300 pounds, which is about 130 kilos in his fighting days. He had 159 wins and 147 losses, so that's a Kachikoshi, and had about 9 bouts out injured. But not only that, along the way he got to meet a lot of Rikishi who are still on the Dohyo. So he beat Hakuho in 2001, did a beautiful Okuri Taoshi on him. He beat Kaisei, Kakeru, So Kokurai, and faced quite a few others along the way. And Minaminoshima, I'd just like to ask you, firstly, welcome, and what actually got you into sumo? You were the first second generation foreign Rikishi. I think it was your destiny, because your real name is actually a Shikona, that your sumo fighting name. So I don't think you had a choice, did you?
Yeah, first of all, I would say Kochan desu, as being a Rikishi. Otsukare-san. For things that I think my dad had a vision for me, calling me with his Shikona. So the thing about it, when we grew up from young age, we never heard any stories about my dad. We see in photos, we have photos of him hanging around, but he never talked about it much until I get to high school, to my teenage years, and that's when he started to talk about it, because we ask him questions of how things are going then. And most of the things that we ask how was the life of being a Rikishi, and most of the things that he replied to us, he told us that it was a tough life. It was a really hardcore training, and it's a hard life, but also a good experience and a good lesson for life that he learned from it. And when he came back to Tonga, that he used it, and it also made him stood out from everyone else into working with the king and being close with the king himself, just because of the sumo and also his service to the country as well. So by doing that, he also forced me to do sports. He know that I wasn't really paying attention inside classrooms and stuff like that, but out of the field, that's where mainly I come alive. So inside the classroom, I was dead asleep inside classrooms. But if I go out the field, I'm fully on when I go out the field. Even before I do sumo, I used to do shot put. My main event was doing shot put. So I start winning gold medals in the school sports in Tonga, and probably that's one of the things that made my dad start thinking of recruiting me and training me to do sumo. So my life over there before I did sumo, like I do shot put after school in the evening, and then after shot put I do rugby training, and then after rugby training, then I go do judo training. And then after judo training, then when I get home, then that's when we do our sumo training. So pretty much from Monday to Friday, I have to do all those 4 exercises. And you can imagine that's why I go and sleep inside the classroom because of that.
Well, that explains why when I first met you in 2000, when you came to Sydney with the Tongan team, I was like, is this their kids team, their junior team? I couldn't tell. You were all grown men, and I think you won all the medals that year. It was pretty hard competition. There was a lot of beef there, and it was. Then I think did you go straight to Japan after that, or did you go back to Tonga first?
We had to go back to Tonga first.
Okay, so then they packed you off with what? Nothing much but a teddy bear and the clothes on your back, and then you joined Musashikawa Bear.
Yeah, actually, I didn't take anything, not even the clothes. What my dad told me is that this is what my dad told me. When he get to the sumo stable, you don't wear casual clothes. You don't wear pants, t-shirt, and stuff like that. So you had to wear the yukata and the kimono and things like that. So that's what my dad told me, and I didn't take any clothes with me. And this was in the winter time, and it was like heavy snow in Tokyo. So I arrived to Tokyo with a short and a t-shirt with nothing else but that. And I think the stable master for Oyakata for Musashikawa Bear was like, he was shocked when they found out that I didn't bring any clothes or anything like that. And I told him that's what my dad told me. There's no need to bring any clothes because you're not wearing clothes.
That's great.
Literally turned up in a shorts and t-shirt. That's it's not that unbelievable, but it's because I've heard a couple of similar stories, obviously, for other wrestlers turned up, but none with the bare minimum is you're saying you turned up. Literally, even though Yakata was shocked at the bare minimum you brought with you, that's brilliant. I love that.
Tell us what it was like. Were you originally assigned to Musashimaru from the beginning, or was that a bit later?
No.
Look out the timeline.
Yeah, because I didn't got assigned to anyone. Probably because we didn't understand the language back then. For the other boys, they were assigned to the certain secretary to work with. But me and this Mongolian guy Nyamka, because we were still learning to speak the language, so we sort of just staying out. So I think it's probably after a year, that's when we got assigned to start working with the secretary. Just because I think probably that's when we started to learn the language and speak a little bit and understand what they're doing, the chores and things like that.
So see learning the Japanese language, how did you personally find that, just your own personal experience with trying to pick that up?
We were just catching up with just listening to music and helping each other out, me and like my mates Nyamka, Musashiru back then, or I forgot his shikona that he used after that. But yeah, we keep exchanging language because sometimes, because he's from Mongolia and he couldn't speak English, he couldn't speak Japanese. I'm from Tonga and I can only speak English, but and I can't speak Japanese. And the boys at the stable were surprised that the two of us, so somehow we sort of understand and They're able to communicate without knowing, the languages or what we're speaking, or even Japanese. We didn't even know how to communicate, but somehow we managed to contact, through body contact and physical contact, knowing what to do and help out each other. Even we exchange words and try to catch up what the meanings and things like that.
I hope I don't get you in trouble here, but you've had some fascinating stories. So when did the ladies start taking an interest in you, and how did you sneak out of the hair? I have visions of you being stuck like Winnie the Pooh with your bum in the air trying to climb out the windows. So tell us about, because it's a very strict regime that you have to adhere to, but you were able to still enjoy your life as a deshi. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I think that was one of the probably one of the things that I regret did when I was there. When I went to Tonga, to Japan from Tonga, I didn't drink, I didn't go party, so pretty much I just stay at home and help out with chores at home and things like that. So when I went into the stable, I was pretty much just staying there. Most of the things I do is training, eat, and then after eat, it was just help out with the chores at the stable and then sleep. But I think it started when I got assigned to work for Musashimaru. It is because they started to show me outside, so I had to go outside to the shop and do chores and them, and sometimes when he go out, I have to go out as well, and then go clubbing and go restaurants. I started to see things like that, and I started to wonder, I haven't done that in my teenage years, so I was thinking, I wanted to do this, and that's what sort of made me wanted to sneak out when they do the lockdown.
Did you ever get caught? I think you said they installed cameras to catch you out, but you still found the blind spot where you could sneak out through the the dojo, the dohyo.
Yeah, because the door for our stable, I think is that there's a certain time that it's locked. I think around 10 or 11 at night, the lock is automatic. It's an auto lock, so you have to ring the bell in order for anyone upstairs or the Oyakata house to open it down, and they have to look through the camera to see to turn it on. And so because of that, I have to I know if I ring the bell, it's not a good thing to wake up the Okami-san or the Oyakata that will be on me on the following day for the training. So I sort of leave one of the lock open in the windows in the training room. So I always keep it open. So if I go out, then I can sneak back in and unlock that and sneak back in.
Oh, excellent. Now, one of the most fascinating stories that you told me, and it makes a lot of sense, was, well, firstly, we were we had to take a long drive to the nation's capital to do a talk on rugby and sumo, and Minaminoshima and Hoshi Yukari kindly did a bit of action while I got up on the podium and compared and contrasted sumo with rugby. Now, on our way down, we had a great conversation, and you were able to tell me the secret to Hakuho's success. So you went through with what this little kid, this scared, weird-looking little kid was like at the beginning, and you saw him develop into a Yokozuna. So can you take us through why you think why Hakuho ended up being so good?
Yeah, I think there was one good thing that you mentioned, the way the Kimarite of how I won against Hakuho on 2001. We were still in Chonokuchi. It was a push down, and if you look at the Kimarite at the moment, you know, it's impossible to do that in Kimarite at Hakuho at the moment. Is how big and how strong he is right now, and you can tell, you know, that's the big difference. You can only do those kind of Kimarite to someone that, you know, really small, skinny, or very weak. And for what I remember about the Yokozuna back then, when we first went in, he was too young. He was still way too young. For what I look at him, he was one of the young boys that I feel sorry for him for coming into the sumo, because he's just too small for it, and he couldn't believe that. And I think I heard a similar story that that's the reason why the other stable master didn't pick him, because he was just too small, and it was only his stable master that picked him because he thought that he could make him big and make him stronger. So by doing that, for what I remember about him is that sometimes we go out after party after tournament, we go out Nichigai, which is after party, and we go hang out with our mates and friends and the Rikishi that we're running together. And all those times, I don't recall any time that Hakuho had been shown up. And sometimes we ask about him, you know. We asked about to the other Mongolians to see what he's been up to and where he's at, where he's not coming to join us. And the stories that we hear was his master his Oyakata is not allowing him to go out or, you know, go out party or anything like that. So pretty much what he do is he only train, eat, and then sleep. And not only eat, but the Oyakata made him drink like 2 liters of milk every day, or like every meal. And that's what we heard. So it gets to a point where we started to, you know, just let him be, because we know that he can't go out and things like that. And not long after that, that's when we started to see him, like his body growing and he's getting taller and things like that. And I think not long after that, that's when he started jumping up to Sandaman and Makusta, and then going, and then after that just keep going up. So we were all shocked at the way he was growing so fast, and he able to become who he was.
So you thought he was a bit of a pussy, and then he turned out to be absolutely formidable. Now, and what, you know how we see him with those little elastic bands, and a lot of people think, why is he doing that? Can you explain how that gives him his superhuman strength?
Which one?
Well, whenever he's warming up and he's at the Jungyo and the regional tours, we see him holding onto those elastic bands, and sometimes
elastic bands.
accidentally letting it go and hitting poor Enho or Ishiura. So can you explain how he's used that to his to great effect with his strength?
It's we used to play jokes like that. Use the rubber band and things like that too. You know, let the youngsters or the lower ones hold it, and then we try to pull it and then release it. You know, extend and release it, and hit on them for a fun joke. But it hurts. We know it hurts. But the thing about those training, I think athlete people or people with profession in wrestling and things like that, we use those rubber training for the inner muscles. So that's why we do those rubber pulling. You sort of train the muscle inside the joints and things like that. So when we only do heavy lifting and stuff, like your muscle outside your building. But when you do this rubber pulling and things like that, you're pretty much training the muscles inside the joints of them. So that's why some of the boys are really good at it, because I think for any athletes and them, they know the stronger your muscles inside the joints is the stronger your strength and how you're able to, to full on bring out your power. Because if you pretty much just have your muscle outside, let's say for an example, like the bodybuilder, they have all the the muscles outside, but for them to do a fast, especially for sumo, it's only a couple seconds. So for a builder to do like a fast move, like a sumo wrestler, they can't, because their muscles inside are not that are not that strong and not that trained to be fast, and that's why
they're too busy looking in the mirror.
Yeah, say it's not it's not really what it's outside shows outside. It's pretty much what's inside. So it's the muscle inside that they do just training for.
Yeah, it's just such a simple concept, and it's brilliant. I quite like the idea because I don't like weights. Did you do many weights at all? I often use my own body weight, which means I don't have to lug around the weight set. That's often keeps you a lot more supple. And Matawari, did you have trouble with doing that in the beginning?
No. I was able to do the splits even from Tonga. My dad used to push us every time we do the training. He'll push us, every day, try to get it, to split. I was able to get my chest on the ground, but I wasn't able to do 180 degrees, split. But somehow, for what they say on the splits, as long as you put your chest down on the floor, that's it, you're done. But yeah, I was able to do that. So I was lucky enough that I didn't have to face that problem, because I've seen others try to do the splits, and then they have 4 people, one each leg, and then one sitting at the back, and then one pull the hand. I even hear, some boys, I can hear the snap sound coming from between the legs when they force them to do the splits. That's how bad I was lucky enough that I didn't have to go through that.
What would you say is I shouldn't ask that. What's the worst thing you've seen in your career in sumo? What were the biggest challenges? I remember you told me that you hated while doing a slap or his kachiage, the elbow, and it just brings out pure hatred in people. And they don't understand it. It's perfectly legal, and they think that whoever he's doing it to is offended and upset, and but that's not the case at all, is it? Do you actually get pissed off with someone enough to you don't start verbalizing it, or you might give them an extra shove in training or something? But yeah, tell us about what happens on the dohyo and how you deal with that with your personal relationships with the other Rikishi.
I think it does comes out sometimes. You get to feel like you come up to an opponent that you feel like you wanna give him the worst, the worst of this. And I think for what I heard, I haven't done kachiake, or someone did it to me, but I've seen people do it to other wrestlers as well, just because they hate him or hate them or things like that. But on the other hand, what I see is that pretty much those Rikishis, the opponent will be really it's hard because like for myself, my technique is the oshidashi or tsubari. And for me to go tsubari into someone that really good at grabbing belt or grabbing the mashi, the only thing that will come to me is to do a kachiake straight into the chin. And when you do a kachiake straight away, the only thing if you got it right, you can knock the person down. But if you got it wrong, it could be dangerous to you. So I think it comes in very risky in order to decide to do it or not. But to get the point to do it, you have to make sure that you do it the right moment at the right time. Otherwise, it will be backfire on you. For what I remember, I just recall about that because I wasn't good at kachiake or grabbing the belt, but I was good at slapping at tsubari. So it's sort of like what do you call it? Like a death, or like a final. Oh shit! What do you call it? It's like a technique to kill. You know, it's like it's just like a one technique. You straight away you go for it. It's a go for kill one. For what I do is I don't do kachiake, but I gave a big slap and I go straight for the chin. So when I do that tachiai, straight away my arm will just come straight from the ground, just go straight up to the chin and knock the person out. That's one of my my kill technique that I love to use, or I use it on some wrestlers, some Rikishi that I don't like. And I think it's similar to when those ones do the kachiake limits, and probably sort of one kill technique that they want to use it on the person.
Yeah, because a lot of people really misinterpret it. They think it's malicious. They think that
and also
they used to deliberately hurt.
Yeah, and I think sorry that I used the word hate. Like, for us Rikishi to hate someone, we don't hate the person because we sort of what do you call it, don't like them or have a argument or fight them. The only hate we give to another Rikishi is they have a technique that it's hard for us to deal with. Like, let's say for what I struggle with inside the ring, it will be much easier for me to wrestle a big guy than wrestle a small one. So I normally use my gill technique, like straight my palm straight into the chin. I use that on a small one because I hate them. I hate wrestling the small ones because they're too fast and I can't catch up with them. So yeah, that's why some people are doing the kachiake, because there's no other way to deal with that person but to have to go straight for their gill technique. And that's the kind of hate I'm talking about. It's not hate like I want to punch you outside or something like that. It's just that it's hard to figure out how to deal with that person with the technique and the style of the sumo that they're doing.
Because a lot of fans really misinterpret it. Like if somebody bigger is whacking someone a lot smaller, they're calling it bullying and saying that it's just designed to hurt. But the fact is, a lot of you guys do train with the smaller guys on a regular basis. So all these armchair experts are saying, oh, they've got Enho worked out, or they've got this Rikishi worked out, and now his numbers up. That's not really the case, because they're so agile, the smaller guys, that you have to be on your toes at all times, don't you?
Yeah, and pretty much that's the thing, because they use this kind of techniques when they notice that they have no other choice but to do it. But by doing that, they know the risk of it, how risky that technique is, because it's either they can, if they got it right, they'll win, and if they got it wrong, they'll lost the bout. So when they got it right, you can see some Rikishi are actually falling down to the ground. And I've seen some Rikishi done it before, and they got the timing wrong, and it backfired on them. So pretty much that's how it is. It's just because they can't find a way to deal with sort of technique that the other opponent is doing.
So what do you think are the biggest misconceptions about watching sumo that a lot of the fans have that you'd like to clear up? A lot of people, well, if it's on Facebook, they just make up stuff. They pretend that they can get inside Rikishi's head. They think, oh, he's still disturbed about a bout he had 5 days ago against so-and-so, and then that's playing on his mind. And that's rubbish. It's one bout at a time, isn't it?
There's one thing I noticed when I quit sumo. Even now, I still have it. While I was still doing sumo, I get to a point that when I stand out in a huge crowd, my eyes sort of like blurring out everyone, so I can't just see one person. So by blurring out everyone, it pretty much, I think, other Rikishi are having the same as well, and they're doing the same. And what I see is that some people got offended by that from me before, because I gave out like a mean look, or even they said that I look at them, but I didn't even, show any, say hi to them or anything like that. But because they're standing in a crowd, I told them, because you're standing with everyone else, I don't see you. I just see everyone, and it's, it's blurring. And when I give out a mean face, it's not to them, but it's just for me, trying to be focused on what I'm doing. That's all what I do. And I think probably that's one of the fans are doing, because somehow they try to say hi to the Rikishi and them, or, they look at them with giving them a mean face. But really, to be honest, probably the Rikishi couldn't even see them, because when they see out the crowd, it's just blurry.
So what you're saying really is 99% of the cases where these faces are getting made, these sort of like resting bitch faces or whatever MD wants to call them, that it is most of the time just that's them concentrating, trying to get focused on what they're doing, which is totally understandable, yes, considering what they're about to face and how important each bout can be. Because as you had mentioned earlier on when you were talking to John, that everybody's really fighting for their cell as well. You know what I mean? You're you're all for your own on the dohyo. I've got to add on to what John was saying about everybody getting so uptight about it. That was one of the most, I've been a sumo fan for years and years, but as far as online social media platforms, I'm only in them a couple of years now, and I was very surprised at so many people getting so offended over somebody just having, like, not smiling or not looking very happy or that, and then that would be them dogged for a year over it, when literally all the guy was doing was trying to concentrate on the bout in front of him.
Yeah, because they, some fans, they say like, oh, that Rikishi is always grumpy all the time. He never smiles. He always gives like a mean face.
Aye.
But what they need to understand themselves and what they're planning, what they're thinking.
Mm-hmm. I like how you said that they're human and all, because our last couple of episodes, this is what I've been saying a lot about. I realise everybody, and when you like me, I enjoy Japanese culture, and that's why I enjoy sumo and the traditions and all of that. So people get it into their head that these guys are like godlike, and I realise they say it like a Yokozuna is like deity level in that, but at the end of the day, these men are humans. You're a human. You all have families and peoples. You have fears and worries, and you want to make a success of your life and all. And see, when people get the idea of like Japanese culture in their head, or what the traditions should be, see the fact that these guys are also human beings goes right out the window, and then it's just people's own selfish wants, what they feel it should be or what they want, and they forget or don't care about what anybody else is feeling or thinking. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because pretty much, yeah, definitely, yeah, exactly. And because one of the things that the reason why we're giving out, I do it sometimes myself, and the reason why we're doing those kind of mean face and things like that is, yes, we are human, and we do get nervous, and we also, try to hide that nervous. Sometimes we go into a match with someone that we know, like, a friend or best friend or something like that. And we get nervous because we don't want to be bad to our friends and get them injured or anything like that. But at the end of the day, we still want it to win, because it'll make a kachikoshi, it'll go up the ranks. So we try to hide all of that, try to cover that all up by being focused and try to hide it inside. But really, to be honest, we do get nervous and scared of whoever we're gonna face or wrestle inside the ring.
That reminds me of something we discussed a long time ago, was Yaocho. You told me that it's extremely difficult to tell if somebody is being, letting someone else win. And often, like for example, Ichinojo, people go, oh, he just gave up. There's certain times where you're just defeated if somebody has a better position on you. This is one of the few times when actually having done sumo helps you see things from a different perspective. When you, like, so Ichinojo, for example, is being pushed out there's no point with him struggling like a worm trying to get out of a bout that he's already lost because he's in a bad position or he's going to hurt his back. But with the Yaocho, the sort of throwing the bouts, tell us how what your view on whether or not it's detectable or not, because a lot of people don't really understand what they're looking at when they try to accuse Rikishi of throwing about. So there's a difference between sort of spiritless sumo and actually cheating, isn't there?
Yeah, it's really hard, and you can't really tell. But for things like that happens, for someone to give up inside the ring, I do understand why they give up. There are some few points that we do give up easily, even for myself. Like my technique was oshitashi and tsupari. So when someone grabbed my belt, and it's hard for me to cut off their hand from my belt, straight away I know there's no point of me pushing, because if I try to grab the belt, pretty much I'm probably gonna end up on the ground. So I've had some few bouts that I gave up like that because of that. And not only that, but because when I knew that someone had a good grip on me and also made me off balance, it's easier for me to just, to give up and walk out instead of trying to fight in, and then I'll end up injured myself. And pretty much it's hard to understand or to know what's going inside the ring, except the wrestlers inside the ring. Because there's a lot of things can happen inside there. They had a knee surgery, and I broke my knee. I broke the cartilage, and I did a surgery, and they took off the broken piece. And when I did wrestle, there was some times that I feel that, I went to a point that I felt my knee couldn't hold me standing there, so I just had to, to give up and walk out. So it's not easy to tell Yaocho inside there, but on the other hand, Yaocho is, I think it does happen. I don't know how hard or is it still going or not, but I remember there was one time I went into the tournament and one of my opponent, it wasn't him, but one of his mates came up to me and asked me to give up the belt for my opponent just because his family was there, and they came up from far away just to see him, to watch him play on the day. But for me, I didn't give up. I hate people like that, so I gave him the worst bouts he ever had on that one. But yeah, for Yaocho, I think it does happen. So it just depends, and people doing it. But to be able to tell